Hello, friends. I'm going to talk about another guitar player today. I did some previous videos about Snakefinger, and then I did one about Mick Karn, a bass player, and I did another one about some of my favorite guitar players. And one of the ones that I mentioned in there is kind of at the end, because I didn't really know how to explain him very well, is Fred Frith. Fred Frith is a guitar player, but more of a musical entity in some ways. He is a really atmospheric guitar player. Um, it's hard to say. Like it would be. He's one of those guitar players that you can't really look at anybody else and say, here's who he sounds like, or he plays kind of like this person or that person. He's not that kind of guitar player. He uses the guitar in different ways. Takes a different approach to the whole idea of how to play a guitar in some cases, but in other cases he plays it like a guitar. But he's also a songwriter, a song creator, constructor, builder of songs. It's pretty amazing what this guy has done through his career. He was in a band called Henry Cow and some other bands in earlier times, but then he did these solo albums. He did 3 solo albums for Ralph Records, the record label that was owned and operated by the Residents, who I've also spoken about. And I imagine the reason is because he was able to have complete freedom. I think maybe if he had signed to, one of the big record labels, they probably would have told him, your material is not commercial enough. We really want to move product, and you're going to have to get a singer who is different kind of voice, and you're going to have to get a band that plays like a normal band, etc. And I believe, I'm not sure, but it seems to me that Ralph Records had a more of an open idea about what you could do on an album. And I believe they gave him the freedom to record the albums that he did on Ralph Records. I believe they gave him the freedom because they seem like complete products from the mind of Fred Frith. They really don't seem like they were influenced by any commercial endeavors. They don't sound like other music that came out at the time. Even today, we listen to them, it's timeless. The music is completely timeless. There's no way to tell when this music came out. It could have been yesterday. It could have been earlier, maybe not the big band era or something, but there's a range in there when this music could have come out, including yesterday. And the songs are kind of almost like world music, folk music, street music, like really fantastic stuff. He did an album called Gravity, which is incredible. I mean, it is a flowing collection of music that takes you through. It sounds like the streets. You hear sounds of people in the streets and drum beats that sound like they're played on wooden boxes and trash cans, and great guitar stuff, bass playing, but unusual, unlike anything else. It's got a international kind of vibe to it, and a feel of almost like folk, like street folk music, like the kind of music people would make if they just had, pawn shop stuff and boxes and things like that. But then again, I don't want to make it sound like it's very primitive, because there's some very incredible playing on here. The musicality is top notch. There's a lot of people on here that worked on it with him. I don't want to go through all these names, but there's quite a few people on here, as well as Fred Frith. So the music is solid and serious, legitimate, very listenable, very enjoyable music that kind of takes you into these other places. And very similarly to this album, Gravity is the next album that he did, called Speechless. And I hope I have those in the proper order. That one might be the second one. This might be the first one. This one might be the first. I don't know. But this one has Kick the Can, and this one is even a little bit more, to me, a little bit more of a trip through, like a journey kind of a record, where you go in and you feel like you're in the streets. You feel like you're hearing live music being performed and improvised, and and yet it's not loose and meandering and pointless. It's very skillfully arranged and coordinated, and just again beautifully played. There's some great other musicians on here, as usual. People like Bill Laswell on here. There's a lot going on this record, a lot going on musically in both of these albums. But I very, very much recommend both of these records. I still listen to them quite often, and I still get inspired about, with when I play my own music and you listen to something that pushes so many envelopes, you feel like when you go back to your guitar or back to your instrument, you feel like you might have a little bit more freedom in the way you're going to play, because listening to things like this kind of opens up your mind in a way that lets you realize, wow, I can go there. You can do whatever you want, and it's musical, as long as it's musical. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, Fred Frith is an experimental musician. He's often referred to as an experimental musician, but the music on here sounds very traditional in so many ways, and kind of folk. I use the word folk music because it sounds like the music of the people. For some reason, it's just a brilliant couple of albums, and I recommend them 1,000%. Fred Frith, everybody, and he's also done so much music on both sides of these two albums too, in the future of them and previous to them. So highly recommend Fred Frith, one of my favorites, someone I've been following for years. Check him out, and thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again real soon.